we get to a low-budget horror movie that has been one of my favorites. And rewatching it this year, back in early April, and then back a couple of days ago, just to kind of want to talk about this. We're going to talk about it because I have some pretty awesome things to say about it. So, continuing my little small few days or whatever's left of October horror thingy, basically my annual year of Halloween related stuff, we're going to talk about a movie that I've been wanting to talk about. That's one of my favorites if you saw the honorable mentions of my top 100 favorite movies of all time. And that movie is Midnight Movie, which was released in 2008. And of course, this was directed by Jack Messitt and stars Rebekah Brandes, Daniel Bonjour, Mandell Maughan, and Arthur Roberts as the killer. And this came out in the year 2008, written by Jack Messitt and Mark Garbett. And the plot of Midnight Movie is a rarely seen slasher flick called The Dark Beneath gets a midnight screening at a rundown movie theater. The film's director was supposedly driven insane by it, but that doesn't stop horror fans, including Bridget and her boyfriend, and her friends Mario, Samantha, and Babe, and her biker boyfriend Harley, from attending the showing. And so when the lights dim down and the movie starts, they honestly find themselves in for a scare of their lives, because they're not just going to be watching the bloodbath that is the movie, they're also going to be starring in it. And so one by one, little do they know that the killer from the movie is stalking the halls of the Popcorn Palace, picking them off one by one. What is going on, guys? That's Joshua. It's Joshua from Future Filmmaker 3940 Reviews. We're here while I talk movies, TV, and music. And if you like to talk to one of those three things, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure in the comments section to tell me what did you guys think of Midnight Movie. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Have you not heard of it? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of you have not heard of this movie. And thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit that like button if you like what you see here. Be sure to comment down below. Also share this video. Also be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified when new videos, live streams, or posts on my community tab are up. Otherwise you're not going to get every single notification to every single one of those. Midnight Movie, if you saw my top 100 favorite movies of all time, it didn't make the cut, but I was able to put it in my honorable mentions category. And the reason why this is one of my favorite movies ever is because not only it's a low budget film, but also because of the idea of you have a group of people in this theater for a midnight showing 5 years after the killer went crazy in a hospital and he just massacred an entire institution. And so when you play this flick, not only he comes in and out of the fear to kill you, he also kills the victims inside the movie. And they all get stuck in this theater and with no way out, and they have to try and fight to survive. And that's the main thing that drew me in when I first saw this back in the early 2010s. My sister, she did have a copy of this movie on DVD, and I looked at the disc artwork, and then we also played, and then she also wanted to watch it one night during Halloween break or Christmas break, I think. And we put the movie in, and then we watched it, and then I was pretty fascinated with this idea and with the killer. And throughout the entire movie, there was something about the movie that I couldn't really just look away about. Maybe it's because it was a scary movie, and when I was younger, yeah, scary movies, they don't really scare me as much, even even as a young girl, I just sit there and take it in. But it's only the really creepy horror movies. Like recently this year, I watched Rosemary's Baby and a lot of other scary movies. Many of those kind of horror movies that does gets me. But Midnight Movie, this has always been a movie that I very much enjoy, and so I decided to rewatch it back early this year, and then I decided to rewatch it again a couple days back in October, which is why I wanted to give you a review of it now. So, does Midnight Movie still hold up for me? Let's get into my positives and my negatives. And I was a big positive when it comes to Midnight Movie is the concept. Like I just explained, the concept of these group of kids, and then you have this very obscure slasher movie from the 1970s made by Ted Raffer, who is the main killer of the movie. And you get all this explanation about how is his first screening of the movie since he disappeared, and that 5 years ago he was the one who killed all the people in the institution. And just the concept alone, it is basically a movie within a movie, because you have the people who's actually sitting there watching this movie, and then it goes from the movie to the killer's point of view, and also the idea of the killer, his point of view is your fear. I like that concept. I like the idea. I think it was very clever on the scriptwriter's part and the director's part, Jack Messitt, to actually run through with this idea. And it was a very interesting idea that I just went along with. And every time I rewatch this movie, I just go along for the ride, because this movie knows it's low budget. It knows it's scary, but that's the beauty of a low budget horror movie. And yes, the budget on this movie, of course, was only $1,000 million. So it's not the biggest budget in the world. But that's also a pretty good thing to all future movie makers, including myself, which you don't need a large budget to tell the story you want to tell, whether it's horror or sci-fi or a comedy. Sometimes you can just work with a small budget, like $1 million or $7 million. And yes, horror movies are kind of my favorite thing. So I did have a good time with that. So that was my first big positive. It's just the concept alone of this killer coming in and out of a movie, killing off his victims one by one, and his main thing he gets is your fear. The second thing I have to praise here is the look of the killer himself. He's wearing a farmer's like outfit from the movie he was in, and just the way his face is with the mask is very creepy. It's very scary. It will give you some nightmares, but it's a very creepy look, and it's actually really disturbing to look at. Especially, it's a very creative mask with the skull and his face, and also his choice of a weapon. I like the choice of weapon with this whole corkscrew, where it's like a silicone thing that's like a swirl. I do like the whole corkscrew, the way he uses it to kill his victims, especially in one portion of the movie where you have this group of kids and a detective, and then this one girl, which I won't say who it is because I don't want to give away spoilers. Of course, you ain't seen this movie. The way he just gives a double kill into the movie, I really do like that. I think that's very cool. I think it's very creative, and I think it's very genius to see that actual kind of idea. And also, the movie does have some very creative kills. I do, especially when the killer goes in and out of the movie. 1 minute he be in the movie killing somebody, and then the other minute he just comes out and kills someone in this actual theater. And when the body count rises, he just doesn't stop, because no matter where you are in this film, he will kill you. And there's no place to run, you ain't got no place to hide, and he knows what he's doing. He knows what to do and to get you. Also, I will say the direction and the writing in this movie. Now, this isn't going to win awards for best director or best writing, because there are some parts of the writing that is a little iffy, which I'll get to in my negatives, but I will say from most of the writing, from the direction, I think this movie does a great job at building up the standards, telling us what kind of movie this is going to be. And this movie does not play around in terms of its violence. Like I said, this movie gets gory, it gets brutal, and with its kills. This is one brutal, tough killer you don't want to mess with. And also just the little few lines that he does say in this movie were like, I smell fear, or it's not her, or you're gonna wish you could die. It's very creepy, it's very creepy, like it's very scary. It's very disturbing to hear. And that does a good job when it comes to Arthur Roberts, who plays the killer, Ted Rafford. I haven't seen this guy in anything else, but he knows exactly what he was doing in this part. He was having fun as his killer. He has fun with this. He just does not hold back from the moment he's on that screen to the very last frame of the movie. Also, I will have to say, I do like some of the acting in this movie from most of the cast. Mainly our final girl, Bridget, who, I gotta say right now, she is a mix of Taylor Swift and Ashley Benson. Rebekah Brandes, she does a great job in this role, and I think you get to care about her. You do get to find out that at a young age, when her mother died, her dad would abuse her and her brother Timmy, we'll get to him in the mix section. But Bridget, I found her a very strong character. You can tell she's frightened. She also works at this theater, and she also cares to get her friends and her little brother out of the situation. And I liked her as a final girl character. However, I don't like what they did to her. Also, I liked Daniel Bonjour as the character of Josh. Josh, as a character, he's a very cool boyfriend character. He's there, he's very supportive, he wants to go off to pursue some kind of dream because he got into college, and they never really say who it is, but at the same time, he really cares for Bridget and the brother Timmy, and that he wants to protect them, and he wants to help her get through this. And I liked him. He was a pretty cool character. It was a little sad when the boyfriend character got killed off, which that's obviously a cliche that was gonna end the film. Also, Mandell Maughan as Samantha. For the little screen time she has, you can tell that she's really doing a good job. There were some moments where it felt like at first, like, okay, am I gonna like this character? But I felt something for her, especially when she died. Her character gets a very intense, brutal death, especially when it involves a window and her hands. That's all I'm gonna say in this movie. That's all it involves. Also, I like the biker couple, Babe and Harley. But Harley, he has some of my favorite jokes in this movie, and he was also the pretty tough guy who's in the rocker, relationship. Well, he has some funny lines where he said, I'm getting punked and you're not going to make me look like a fool on a reality show, or I didn't sign a release, or even some of the stuff he does with Mario. And then he does have a little bit back and forth with the detective Barons, played by Jon Briddell, Michael Swan. He did a great job as Dr. Wayne. And also, but Harley, I thought he was a very funny character, and there was one moment in this movie where the killer and him, where he was almost ready to fight the killer, but it was really funny. There's one scene in this movie with him and Mario that I really do like, and it does involve after the aftermath of the Samantha character and the detective, what happens to them. He literally just punches the crap out of Mario and just gives him a taste of his own medicine, which he does come close to killing him, and he does have a funny line in the line where he says Mario left his girlfriend up there and died, which, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's also on YouTube for free, which And also Melissa Steach's babe. She was okay. I liked her. And also you had Brea Grant, for all you Rob Zombie Halloween 2 fans and horror fanatics out there. Brea Grant is in this movie. I enjoy seeing her in this movie. And also the score and the cinematography and the production and work is very low budget, but when you really think about it, I give them credit for what they're allowed to do despite this limited budget. The cinematography is well shot. The scenes in the movie that they're watching to the actual scenes with them being stuck in the theater, and the way the kills are shot and the way the editing is. And I do like the soundtrack in the movie and the score by Penka. I don't want to butcher her last name, but will be in down there down below. The score from that composer is really great. And I do like the choice of rock songs because I am a rock fan, and I do like that. And I really did like it. However, I do have two things in this movie I'm pretty mixed on. One of them is Timmy. Now, Justin Baric, I'm pretty sure this is one of his first movies, but there was some moments in the movie where I thought he was kind of overacting a little bit, and then there were moments where he's doing good, but everyone else is doing a better job around him. But he's not a bad kid actor. I'm pretty sure he is older now, so he is a 50-50 for me. And also, another thing that in this movie I'm pretty iffy on was some of the kills in terms of Kenny and then Sully. I thought those two kills were a bit, rewatching it then watching it back then, those were the only two kills in the movie I thought were kind of pretty lame. All of a sudden, I feel like those kills should have had a lot more going for them. But other than that, those are the only two mixed aspects I have with this movie. Now, as far as my negatives, and I only have 3 things in this movie I really didn't like in this movie. My big thing with this movie, my big negative here first is the character of Mario. Now, Greg Cirulnick, he does a good job in the role as playing, but the way this character acts in this movie, he's just a complete jerk in the movie. He's a jerk to Sully, he's a jerk to Harley half the time. He doesn't really have a caring situation. And also some of the things he does in this movie, especially leaving his own girlfriend to get killed. Even back then when I watched it, and even now when I rewatched it, I'm like, I really hope this killer comes after you next, because you are the most annoying thing in this entire movie. Every single thing he did. Now, for the first couple minutes, I was liking him. He was a cool character. He's in love with the Samantha character, of course. But then what does he do? He starts talking crazy to her when she says she doesn't want to fool around in the theater. He starts acting like a jackass to Harley. He even acts like a jackass. He doesn't even care for Timmy's survival in here. And he's basically saying, ain't nothing you can do to get out of this field. It's every man for yourself. Now, I'm like, dude. But I do like the way the killer kills him. He gets electrocuted. He gets fired in the field by the killer, where the killer puts the corkscrew into a light bulb and then just shocks him, but it doesn't kill him. Which also, that does lead me into the twist. I do have to talk about the twist. For some reason, every time the killer kills somebody, they should be dead, but for some reason, they're not. Which, I have to say, I like that idea, but it's not very much explained in the ways of how. Which, that is another negative that does come into this, as well as some stilted writing at times, and not a little bit more development for some of these characters. That's also a little bit of a gripe because this is low budget, but I'm not going to be too hard on that because it was a low budget. And hey, I know it's hard to do with a screenwriter, but it's a ridiculous B movie, so the movie knows exactly what it's doing. So I do have to give credit to where credit is due to them, because they did do some decent parts of this movie 100% right, with the kills, with some of these characters, and with the atmosphere and the music. But it's just that whole plot twist could have been explained a little bit more. Also, my biggest negative I do hold with this movie, I did not like this back then when I first watched it in the early 2010s, and I don't like it now. And that is my pet peeve with this movie, is the ending. The way this movie chooses to end itself. Basically, what happens is Timmy and Bridget get stuck in the movie and they get out of there. But the only difficulty is the movie is reaching its end game. And then, so, as an act of sacrificial thing, Bridget decides to sacrifice herself in the movie to get her brother out of there. And then apparently he gets blamed for it, which I have never really been a big fan of that, which I know it had to happen that way, but you could have done an alternative and just had both of them get out. Or if you didn't choose to do one kill to the boyfriend, you could still have Bridget sacrifice herself, but you could also have Josh and Timmy get out of the movie together. And that way they both won't get blamed. The blame won't be all put on him, and they could easily say what the movie. And also the stinger at this movie, where you try to set up a sequel with this bicycle, but it doesn't really quite work. If you're gonna have a stinger to a sequel or to a possible franchise or something, you gotta have something better than that. So you could have had a shot of the killer saying that he's not dead and now he's not finished with Bridget. So I feel like you could have done that. But other than that, those are all my positives, my negatives, and my mixed things on it. All in all, in the comments, Midnight movie, I still very much have a fun time with this. It knows it's a silly B movie. It's not gonna have the greatest acting. There are some characters in here I do like. There's a few characters. One character, Amari, I'm really questionable about. The ending of the movie, of course, doesn't really work for me, and also the stinger, and also the whole twist on how it works. They could have explained that a bit more. But what this silly, low-budget B movie needs to get right, it got right. And it is one of my favorite B movies. It's one of my favorite horror movies to watch whenever the chance I get. And if you haven't seen Midnight Movie, it's available on Amazon for free. It's available on YouTube for free, and it's also available on Blu-ray and DVD, theatrical or the killer cut. So whichever one you choose to get. It's also available in triple feature box sets. So all in all, I would say give this movie a watch, especially to all the people in the Killer Fluids group. And yes, despite some writing issues stuff, yeah, I'm not being as harsh on it as this, because I still very much love this movie. So on my rating system, I'm gonna give Midnight Movie my epitastic rating, because this movie is an epitastic fun B movie. It's scary, it knows what it is. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but compared to some B movies and to some of the cheap jump scare horror movies of the last decade, this is a watchable. This is an Oscar winner compared to some of those. And also, I forgot to tell you guys, I'm also writing a horror movie of my own with my good friend Kenneth from Kenneth Movie Corners, and it's basically about the legend of the Kuchisaka Onna. So I just wanted to point that out there to you guys. So with that being said, join me in the comment section down below. Tell me what you guys think of Midnight Movie. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere in the middle? Are you familiar with this movie? I will put a link to the film in the description box down below so you guys can watch it, for YouTube, anybody. And also, I will put a link to it from Amazon, the wish list down below. So with that being said, in the comment section down below, let's talk about Midnight Movie. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere in the middle? Do you think this is a guilty pleasure? Do you think it's ridiculous? And with that being said, you guys keep it cool, enjoying the Epictasticness. And all my social media links are in the description box down below. And if you want to check out any other videos, just go onto my channel and you'll find them there.